Hopefully that is working. Good evening, everyone. I am Kendra Zamoyski. I'm a regional specialized agent with the University of Florida IFAS Extension. I'm here with my lovely team of colleagues tonight. We are so excited to see you all join us. If you can raise your hand, if you were able to attend our kickoff, we would love to see how many people were with us on the 9th for the kickoff. So go ahead and raise your hand.
I see some hands going up.
That's pretty awesome. So I think we also have some new people. So if you weren't able to join us for our kickoff, that is okay. We want to welcome you to a Healthy Table virtual cooking school. We are super excited about this and very excited to see all your faces. So um, I do want to remind you that your cameras and your microphones are enabled. That's because we want to see your smiling faces and we want to have conversations and hear your questions. But we do ask that you please keep your microphones muted until it's time for questions or conversation. So that will minimize the feedback and allow people to hear.
Kendra, you're muted now.
BG, I think I let somebody in and you let somebody in at the same time, and I ended up muting Kendra.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Maria.
I do what I can.
Okay, so
Nothing like
sometimes in these
live.
virtual programs, you just have to rule. So as I was saying, your microphones and your cameras are enabled. People can mute you, apparently, if they are tired of you talking. So my colleagues do have the power to mute people if it becomes a distraction. So we do want you to be aware of that. And you can mute and unmute your microphone and enable and disable your camera using the icons you should see at the bottom of your screen. Our chat box is going, so we encourage you to put any questions or comments in the chat box. We want you to be an active participant of this series of classes. So if you have checked out our Healthy Table virtual cooking website, you know that we have some self-paced online content that is available. The lesson 1 on cooking basics, kitchen basics, opened at our kickoff on the 9th. Today, our lesson 2 is open, and that is the cooking techniques. So each month, following our Zoom meetings, the content on our website opens, and so the new lesson will appear. So you'll have time to complete the self-paced lessons, and we have DIY, do-it-yourself opportunities with each of the lessons also. We really want to see your fun in trying out these things at home. So we have set up a Facebook page that is a closed group where you can share your photos or your videos. You can engage with our agents and ask questions, keep the conversation going in between our monthly Zoom classes. So we're excited about that. That is also linked on each of the lessons on our Google site. We also have a hashtag. If you're into using hashtags, it's hashtag a healthy table. So we're excited to have you. We're going to kick things off today with a really fun scavenger hunt. So I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Brenda.
Great. Good evening, everyone, and welcome. I'm Brenda Marty Jimenez, and as Kendra said, I'm the Family and Consumer Sciences agent from Broward County. And at the kickoff event that we had a couple of weeks ago, we talked about dark milk and white chocolate and the health benefits. And together we dipped fruit and we dipped pretzels together, and we addressed some questions and provided a few resources to you. So that session reminded me of a famous quote from a movie, and the quote goes like this: "Life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get." And that's from Forrest Gump. And I want to repeat that quote again. Life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. And with this pandemic that we're all in, we've we're in some times that are unprecedented, and nobody knew that this curveball was coming to us. But I really want to commend each and every one of you for signing up for this Healthy Table course, because this is such a great way to learn during the pandemic. And we've also found that a lot of people are in isolation and they're lonely. What better of a way to join us at our monthly class here, to join together as we talk about healthy cooking, as we learn healthy cooking techniques, and we have some fun at the same time. So as Kendra said, let's get into the fun. So what we have this evening is a fun Zoom activity in the form of a scavenger hunt. So what we're going to do now is we're going to request that you go to your kitchen or to your pantry and find one item that I'm going to name. But I want you to be really, really careful. Don't trip and fall. If you have a cat or a dog, an extra pair of shoes, children's toys, be very, very careful when you do go out to get this item. So if you choose to participate, turn your camera on now so we can see you. And we have some really, really great prizes. And I want to show you, I don't know if you can see this. This is a Simply Florida cookbook that was put together by some family and consumer sciences agents. And this has a $25 value, and it's packed with really great recipes. And I made a note to myself that I really like it's called the Down South Barbecue. And the other recipe is a papaya avocado salad with fresh Florida lime. So this will be the first prize, and the second place and the third place winner will get a set of measuring spoons. So I've enlisted the help from some of our other Healthy Table co-workers to help me in the judging. So I need the judges to focus really, really carefully. And I'm going to give you the item.
Brenda, can I interrupt you real super quickly? Are we recording? If we need to record,
We are recording.
Okay, all right, very good. Sorry, thank you.
We are recording. Thank you.
And I will also say that the measuring spoons that you will get, the runner-ups, is a 4-in-1, bright red, and it says a Healthy Table. So that is your prize.
So awesome. So with that, I am going to ask the judges to everybody everybody that's participating, make sure that you have your camera on. Judges, focus. And so the item that I want you to go and scavenge for and bring back is a colander or a strainer. So head on out.
I know I'm exempt, but I just wanted to show it off.
Oh, Sam, that looks good.
I got
Whoa!
I see
I'm
Patty.
full of spaghetti. I'm full of spaghetti.
I see Tanya.
Patty
Tanya
has dinner
Bales.
going.
That's right. That's right.
Lori Miller and Tanya. I see some colanders there too. Oh my, there's a lot. Claudine, Denise, Laura, Sharon, Suzanne, Wendy. Oh my goodness. Hold on. Kim.
Wendy. Oh, it's so hard to be a judge.
Okay, do we have most everybody back?
There we go.
So if everybody wants to see each other, you can, in the top right of your screen, there's a place where you can toggle between the views. So you can change it from speaker view to gallery view. So gallery view is helpful to see everybody's faces at the same time.
So awesome, awesome. So next, I'm going to call on my head judge, Jill. Jill, do you have the names of our top 3 of our winners of our first place? Let me grab my pencil. And we are going to mail the prizes out. So Jill, and the decision of the team of judges, or do you need more time, Jill, with the judges?
I might need a little bit more time. I did have one definite, but I may need to review some of this footage.
Okay.
Huh?
Got one more topping.
Give me
You want
options.
Bacon.
So wow, it's hard. It's hard. One has dinner going, so that was Patty. So Wendy's an overachiever, I think. So she's got 2 colanders, colanders and strainers.
Yes.
So yeah, that's really nice. Jill, that's a tough job.
Yeah,
is.
I definitely saw that Tanya Bales was the first one back. So she was pretty quick. And then let's see. Like I said, I'm going to have to refer to some of my co-judges there to see.
Some of the judges might need to huddle and let you know
Yeah,
after the next one.
I
Brenda.
think so.
Okay. That sounds good. That sounds good. So thank you everybody for playing along. And I don't know if you can see mine. I have a yellow one that I grabbed as well. But just for a point of interest, a colander is defined as a metal or a plastic container with a perforated bottom or with the holes for draining and straining foods like pasta, vegetables, fresh fruits, that sort of thing. And when I was looking at strainers, what I learned is that we've had them for many, many years. We've had them for a long, long time. And the first ones were made of leaves and of grass, where they were weaved together and people passed through the water and the liquid and their food remained. So pretty interesting. And I see those of you that grabbed 2 colanders, you had them pretty handy. So they're a really, really useful tool. So anyway, thanks for playing along with us tonight. And what we're going to do next is transition into the next part of the class with our topic of a kitchen skills primer. And you will have the opportunity to ask questions, share successes, and yes, failures. And we all know that sometimes food preparation doesn't always go as planned. And we do have a couple of oops moments, but we learn from our mistakes, right? So you're going to learn some cooking terms. You're going to view a live roasting garlic demonstration and more. So now I'm going to turn the class back over to Kendra. Thank you so much.
Okay, so we wanted to hear a little bit from you all that if you have had a chance to go through lesson 1, if you have had a chance to do any of the DIYs, we had two DIYs posted. One was the chocolate dipping and follow the chocolate dipped fruit from our last kickoff session. And the other recipe was a stir fry or quesadilla. You could go whichever way you wanted to with it. Did anybody get a chance to try out anything?
Okay, it looks like Samantha Skipper said that she did the chocolate dip fruit.
Very
So
nice.
if you want to unmute Samantha, did you have any challenges or was it just delicious?
The only challenge I ran into was the pretzels got eaten before I could dip them. So I ended up using my son's goldfish pretzels. They still worked. My son loved them.
That's a common hazard in cooking, right?
Okay. And it looks like Suzanne Taylor did as well. She did it with her son, and then Deborah Booth, chocolate dips and strawberries. So awesome.
That's fabulous. Any other success stories anyone would like to share?
We did the quesadillas for lunch. And
how did they turn out?
They were wonderful. My husband even wanted an extra one. So I had to make a wrap out of what was left.
Can you see her?
Yes.
We can, yes.
It's the first time we've ever done Zoom.
Oh, well, that's a success.
I couldn't get any voice. I'm still not getting it to my TV. I'm only getting it on the phone, but then I couldn't figure out how to get back the pictures. I think we got it now.
Well, awesome. We're so glad that you are joining us and it's your first time on Zoom. So yay.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Wonderful, wonderful success story. Awesome. Okay, Kendra. Well, let's move on over to our culinary dictionary, and we have a poll coming up on your screen, and we will while we're waiting on Kendra to pull that poll up, it looks like, there it
It
is.
should be launched.
Okay, it is launched. So you can pick any one of those. Question 1 is baking refers to, and it can be the food product transforming in shape while cooking or using very high heat, 400 degrees or higher. So you can select A, B, C, or D. And then you can slide down on your screen. There's a little toolbar there on the right-hand side, and you can slide down. The next one is referring to roasting. And parboil is the third question. And mise en place is finally the last. So feel free to select something, A, B, C, or D. And we will review all these things in just a moment.
I see some answers starting to come in. So I think this is an anonymous poll, so we don't even know if you have the right answer or not. So
nope, we don't. We don't. It looks like we'll give it a little bit more time. Let everybody get an opportunity to answer all 4 of those questions. All right, Kendra, it looks like we've kind of come to a standstill. Wait, there's one more.
Okay, I'm gonna end the poll and share the results.
All right, so baking was it was on our lesson, and baking, the shape of the food does actually change. So you always think about a cake. It starts out as a batter, and then it forms into your cake, and you generally bake at 375 degrees Fahrenheit or less, and the heat always comes from the bottom of the oven. So all right, so next question is about roasting, and roasting cooks at 400 to 475 degrees, but the heat comes from the top and the bottom of the stove, but the food does retain its basic shape. So I'm sorry, I didn't even give you the appropriate answer for the top. Baking would be A, and then roasting uses dry heat, and you actually can roast things on a stovetop, although that's not a true roasting because we use the heat from the top and the bottom of the oven. So you can say it's all of the above because you actually can technically roast on top of the stove. Parboil. This is something that Melanie may be touching on in just a little bit, but it's where you do partially boil a food before you get ready to move it over and do something else. And it is very different from blanching. So, and I think most everybody has heard the French term mise en place, but it is actually having everything in its place and ready to go. So you have all of your ingredients measured out, you have everything ready to go. So I'm gonna stop sharing results here. Kendra, you may have to close it out, or they have to close it off their screen, don't they?
They will need to close it off their screen, I believe.
Yes. So we will introduce you guys to different terms every week. If there is something that you want us to explore, absolutely let us know, and we will happily do the research. And I really loved Brenda's explanation on the colander, and that we used leaves for that at one time. And that's just truly interesting. It shows how things have progressed. All right. Miss Angela is up next, and she is going to talk to you all about roasting garlic. We see you, Angela.
Somebody else muted me, and I had to figure out how to unmute myself. So I'm Angela, and I was kind of excited last week because somebody had asked about how do you peel a garlic? How do you roast a garlic? I can't remember the exact question, but I'm excited because I'm a big, huge fan of garlic. So one of the things, and actually there is still something on my screen. Go away. Okay, there we go. So first thing about garlic that I really want to share with you is there's a big, big difference between a head of garlic and a clove of garlic, okay? And the cloves of garlic, many of those make up a head of garlic. So if a recipe calls for 3 cloves of garlic, that's 3 of these, not 3 of these, okay? There's a big difference there, okay? So just know that the cloves are inside of the head, but this is a head and this is a clove. All right, so when I was a much younger child, apparently I liked to eat a lot of raw garlic. And my mom would come up to me later and she'd pick up my arm. Oh, honey, I can smell it through your skin. So I don't eat that much garlic raw these days. However, if you do work with raw garlic, one of the things that often happens is that, yeah, your hands are gonna have some smell. So there are a few things that really help get rid of that garlic smell, because a lot of times washing your hands with soap and water doesn't really do the trick. So if you have some lemon juice from a fresh lemon or that you squirt out of a little container, that will help to take care of the smell of the garlic. Also, I don't have one of these, but there are things that look like a bar of soap that are made of metal, and you can rub your hands around on those, and that will usually help. And something else that works really well is peanut butter. So if you take about a spoonful of peanut butter, put it in your hands, you rub it around, and then you go to the sink, soap and water, boom, that takes care of the peanut butter smell and the garlic smell. So just so you know, some different kitchen tools that can help when you don't want the smell to stay on your hands. All right, so why do we roast garlic? Because that's what we're gonna do now. As opposed to that very pungent, bold smell from the raw garlic, when we roast, it makes the garlic soft and creamy and sweet. It actually caramelizes the garlic. And another reason that we just want to eat garlic in general, and I'll tell you some differences though, but just in general, the National Institutes of Health have found that they've done some studies finding that there's a link between garlic and things in the garlic family like onions, and lowering your risk of gastrointestinal cancer. So there's a good for you reason to really eat that garlic. So one of the things that we're gonna do is you would start with preheating your oven to 400 degrees, because that's what we're gonna cook these garlic to. And one of the things that somebody, I think they asked was, how do you peel the garlic? So here's this little clove of garlic, and I'm gonna put it on a cutting board, and just take a knife, not a sharp knife, but just a butter knife, and put that on top, the flat part on top of the garlic clove. And then, oops, there we go. Smash it down with your hand. And then the peeling tends to come off very, very easily. Boom, it's peeled. There's the peeling, and here's the clove. So that works really, really well. You can also take out your frustrations, I guess, if you really, want to do a whole bunch of them. One of the things that we're going to get started with is that you're going to take a whole head of garlic, and you're going to cut off, and I've already done it, you're going to cut off the top so you can see each of the pieces of garlic, okay? So they're all exposed. And if you can't see them all, you can, cut one of them to make sure that they're all open and exposed. And then we're gonna take off this papery outside, and that's just a matter of peeling it off as much as you can. If there's still some on there, that's fine. It's not that big of a deal for roasting. Okay.
So Angela, to be clear, would you show them that the root end is the bottom of the garlic?
This is the bottom end. So that's right. Yeah, we don't want to, and that's not gonna, you can eat that, but it's not gonna taste good and the texture is gonna be weird. And so yeah, we don't ever eat that part. I'm not taking that off because it'll stand up easier, but when you are ready, your, hang on just a second. I'm going to take off a little tiny bit more of this off of here. Okay, there we go. That's pretty good. I have got aluminum foil. Love this stuff. Very versatile. And you're going to put the garlic on here. And there's a couple of things that you can do. Usually you can just take some olive oil, which works wonderfully, and you're going to, drizzle it all over the top. And then sometimes people will take their fingers and kind of rub it around a little bit. I'm not going to do that tonight. I don't want to get my fingers all greasy. So I have some olive oil in a little bowl, and I have a little pastry brush, and I'm just going to really, really, really make sure that I get plenty of the olive oil on the garlic so it gets nice and deep down into all of the pieces get covered. Then you just make a little purse and fold it up, and you're ready to go. You can do a number of these and put it in a pan like this, metal or glass, or something else that also works well is if you want to do a whole bunch, you can put them inside of a muffin pan. So that works really, really well. And you do want to have something under them. You don't want to just put the aluminum foil in the oven, because more likely than not, some of that olive oil is going to leak out a little bit, and you don't want that all over the bottom of your oven. So what you're going to do is let that cook for about at least 40 minutes, okay? Which seems like a long time. And the great thing about roasting garlic, if 40 minutes goes by and you say, oh, I forgot it's been an hour, that's no big deal, because you can cook it up to about an hour and 15 minutes. And really, the longer that you cook it, the more sweet it will get, the softer it will get, the creamier it will get. So actually that works out really, really well, the more caramelized that it will get. And then when you are finished and you take it out of the oven, it's going to look like this. So it's darker, and you can actually either with your fingers or with a little spoon or a little fork, you can take out the cloves. And like I said, they're going to be nice and sweet and very, very soft. And I like to put it on, this is just a piece of toast that you can put it on. You could put it on crackers. It works great in soups. It makes a great salad dressing, but this is nice and creamy and sweet. And I have even known of big events, usually Middle Eastern events, where there will be vats of roasted garlic. And you just take some and you put it on your plate, and you can dip vegetables in it, or you can just eat it plain. It's so good, you could just do that. So this, I'm going to take a bite in a second. I wish you guys could share. It smells wonderful. It tastes wonderful. It's really super easy. And when you're finished, you can store it in a jar with some olive oil, a nice tight fitting lid on it in the refrigerator for a couple of days. Or if you'd like to, you can also take some of it, cream it up, or have it the whole pieces with some olive oil in an ice tray, and put that in a Ziploc bag and keep it in the freezer for a couple of weeks, and then just take out what you need as you need it. So enjoy, and that is roasting garlic.
Wow, that was
Any questions?
So the only questions that I saw thus far that came through was how long would it last, which you addressed that. So a couple of days in the fridge, or you can preserve it in the freezer. I bet it smells really good there right now.
It smells quite tasty. Now, some people will also put a little bit of salt on it before they bake it or before they roast it, which you can do, but I don't think it even needs it. And I'm somebody who tends to like salt. And if I say it doesn't need it, I really don't think it needs it. So.
Okay, awesome.
There were some really great hacks to go along with that too, Angela. I learned some things.
All right, awesome. And it would go really great with what we're about to hear next, I think.
Yes, I think it will as well. So thank you so much. We will let you enjoy your garlic. It's also great to add to hummus. Yes, Jill, I completely agree with that. So thank you so much. We will let you get back to having your dinner, since none of us have had ours yet. And we will move on over to Sam Kennedy. So Samantha Kennedy, welcome to Sam's Kitchen.
All right. Hello, everybody. I'm Samantha Kennedy. I am the Family and Consumer Sciences Agent in Wakulla County. Welcome to my teeny tiny Tallahassee kitchen. You can see my collection of magnets right here. If I go 2 more steps, I'm in my living room, basically. So, but that was a great segue. Thanks, Angela. I did not even think to ever do it in a muffin pan. So that's a great idea to keep things upright so they don't fall over. It's a great idea. So I'm going to remember that one. So tonight, I'm going to just be showing you how to make a very simple tomato sauce, homemade, that tastes delicious. That's going to be better than any jarred sauce that you can buy in the store. So the first thing I'm going to do is wash my hands. That's going to be off camera, so bear with me just for a few seconds.
So we will wait on Sam to get her hands rinsed really well, and thank you. I think that I have learned a lot thus far tonight. I will be roasting some garlic this weekend. And if you look in your chat box right now, there is a document you can download that is 5 ways to use roasted garlic. We will also make sure that that lands on our Google site, so you will have access to it there as well. But if you can't wait and you just want to look at it, you can click on it in the chat box. All right, Sam, back to you.
All right, I'm ready. Clean hands, ready to go. So this is a very simple recipe that I like to make a lot. And it only has a few ingredients, and it can be easily tweaked to taste if you want to add different things. So a lot of recipes that you'll see for homemade tomato sauce call for canned whole tomatoes or fresh tomatoes. You can make it with fresh tomatoes, but I prefer the canned. It's just easier, and I usually have canned tomatoes on hand. So if I just want to throw together a quick sauce, I can do that. But so I like to use diced tomatoes. Oh, my standard disclaimer is we don't endorse any particular brand. So I have all kinds of different brands. So whatever you prefer is the perfect one for you. So I like to use diced tomatoes. I just find that they're easier to break down when you have to get to the smushing stage, is what I call it. So they're easier to break down than the whole tomatoes, but you can use whole tomatoes if you want. I tend to use the ones that don't have anything extra in them, and I try to get the low salt or no salt added if possible to help cut down on some of the sodium. But you know, that's just to help reduce your sodium intake, because we all tend to have too much sodium. So a couple of cans of diced tomatoes that I like to use, about 14-ounce cans. And then I was actually playing with fire because I've already taken the lids off, and I'm like throwing this can around. That could have been a problem. Luckily, the lid stuck to the top. So I'm going to go ahead, and you guys can't see this right now. I'll show you in just a second, but I'm going to put that in my pan. I'm going to put both of these cans of tomatoes in my pan. And then, speaking of garlic, you can use cloves of fresh garlic if you want. And I usually have some on hand, but I don't today. So I did have some minced garlic in my refrigerator already. And so this is a very versatile product, and you can use it in lieu of fresh. It does have a little bit of a different taste. I think it's a little more intense than fresh garlic is, but since I love garlic, that's fine with me. So I like to use minced, but you can also actually use garlic powder as well. But just remember that the powder per like a tablespoon or a teaspoon of garlic powder is going to have more flavor than a teaspoon of minced or a teaspoon of chopped fresh, because this is just more intensified, smaller granule in a you know, you get more in one serving or one measurement. But I like to use the minced garlic if I don't have the fresh. And you can measure it if you want. It's usually about a teaspoon or so of minced garlic if you're using it, or 2 cloves of fresh garlic if you want to use fresh. But I've made this so much I don't really measure anymore. So I just take heaping spoon of minced garlic, plop it in there with my tomatoes. And I'm like, again, I'm going to show you in just a second what it all looks like.
Sam, you and I must be related because I would put that much garlic in mine.
Yeah, so it's going to be pretty intensely garlicky if you like that. You can always use less, of course, if you don't like it. A little bit of oregano. I like to use just oregano, but you can use a variety. You can use Italian seasoning, which has like thyme, oregano, basil all together. Marjoram, I think some of them have. So I like to use oregano. And I like to just measure it, like dump a little mound of it in my hand, dump it in there. Okay, so it's usually about a teaspoon if you want to actually measure it out, but I like to just kind of eye it. It's more fun, you know, like let's just throw this in and see what happens.
But it also lets people work to their taste. So if they enjoy more of a oregano or maybe an Italian seasoning, then absolutely they would do that.
Yeah.
That's my kind of measuring.
Now, these are red pepper flakes. These are completely optional, but I like it to have a little bit of spice. Now, in my world, a little bit of spice, it doesn't take much to reach my top level of spiciness, but I usually just take a little pinch between my fingers like that, and that's usually plenty for me. You don't have to add it at all if you don't want to, or you can add more if you like it extra spicy.
There would be more at my house.
So then it calls
Amanda,
for, yeah.
Amanda, I just wanted to tell you that one of our participants, her name is Tanya. She just made a statement on here that said that she's always been told when she's cooking, and where'd it go? Everybody's writing so fast. Oh, to season with your soul. So you don't really have to measure.
I like it. See,
I like that.
I measure carefully when I'm baking, but when I'm
me
cooking,
too.
I don't measure as carefully because
Right.
it's not as imperative most of the time that you get the measurements exactly right, like it is in baking. So
Right.
I love that. Season with your soul, season to your taste, you know, add a little bit of this and a little bit of that and see what works for you. And yes, Vigi, that is why I washed my hands, because I like to also throw things in with my hands. So half an onion, half a yellow onion. This one I haven't peeled. I've already peeled one. I usually just do a coarse chop on it because I'll show you what I do with it. So I usually just do a really rough chop, like cut it in sections like this. And I throw that in the pan. And then just a little bit of olive oil, extra virgin olive oil. And let's see if you can see this a little bit. I'm going to turn this down a little.
That's great right there, Sam. That's
Okay.
good.
So about 2 tablespoons. So 1, 2, approximately 2 tablespoons of that, and a little bit of salt. I know it kind of defeats the purpose of getting the no salt added tomatoes, but just a little pinch that I like to put on the top there.
That'll help get those onions going too.
Yeah. All right. So you can see that I kind of got everything in the pan together like this. Usually I use a saucepan, but I'm already using my medium saucepan for what I've already made. So I'm going to use my skillet here. As long as it's deep enough to hold all your ingredients, you should be good to go. So I just kind of combine them together here. And then you just turn it on medium heat and just let it simmer. I usually let it simmer for at least 45 minutes. I usually let it simmer longer than that so that it's even more flavorful and it gets even more, the tomatoes get even softer. So I'm going to just turn this on medium heat and it'll start to bubble now. That is how easy it is to throw those ingredients together. And a lot of that stuff, let me turn it back on my face. A lot of that stuff, I had everything. I didn't have to purchase anything. It was all in their own, it was all stuff I had on hand. And part of it's probably because I make tomato sauce a lot because I eat a lot of pasta. but part of it is just because these are staple foods that people will have on hand. So things like canned tomatoes are very versatile. You can use for a lot of different things. And herbs and spices, they have a long shelf life if you store them properly. And you know, you can use all kinds of different herbs and spice combinations to flavor your food. And so, and then of course, if you're a garlic fanatic like me, you always have jars of minced garlic on hand to add to a lot of different things. So these are all things like the oil, things that we all have on hand. So you come home from work and you want to make a quick pasta. I mean, it's not super quick because it's not going to be done in 15 minutes, but you know, if you have an hour and then while your sauce is simmering, you can prepare everything else and then you're good to go. So I want to show you what I started earlier. This has been simmering on my stove. Where is it? There it is.
Okay, it's right there.
That's been simmering on my stove since 6:30.
Looks really good. And I will say that one of our participants says she likes to add a teaspoon of sugar because it balances the acidity of the tomatoes. But what I also want to say, Sam, is that would be a really good base if you wanted to puree that and maybe add just a little bit of cream and you could have a tomato soup.
Well, I am going to sort of do that in just a minute. So
right.
It's not going to be a soup, but I am going to puree it. So I know you can't see it super well, but it's cooked.
I see it. It looks good.
Yeah, it's cooked down a lot. This was more full, of course, when I first put it in there. So after it's been simmering it's been almost 2 hours at this point. It doesn't have to be that long. 45 minutes, 30 to 45 minutes at the very minimum will get you a very tasty sauce. But this has been cooking down, and as it's been cooking, I've kind of been starting to mash these tomatoes up against the side of the pan. And if you like a chunky sauce, that's really all you need to do. But you can see I have the big pieces of onion, and you're not going to be able to mash those with the spoon. And so if you just want a chunky sauce, but you still want onions in it, then you can cut them up into smaller pieces. And as they cook down, you know, they won't be so big. So what I'm going to do now is, if you want a smoother sauce, let's see if I can, there's my food processor. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to put this, my back's probably blocking you, but it's okay. I have a tiny kitchen in case I haven't told you that.
It's very efficient though, Sam. It looks like you're preparing all sorts of good stuff.
So I'm going to put this in my food processor. And then
that way Sam can't have too many cooks in the kitchen.
It's true. It's a good point. And so I'm just going to put it in the food processor a little bit. You can use an immersion blender if you have one of those. It's one of those things that's on my wish list that I do not have, so I'm going to get one soon. You can use a stand-up blender too. I prefer to use the food processor. It's just easier for me to grab it because I think my blender's behind like a million things up at the top cabinet, and I have to get like the step ladder out and forget it. I can easily grab my food processor. So Marie has an immersion blender.
Yes, I do. I use it a lot. It was a great investment.
So I don't know how well you can see this, but it's a lot smoother now. So all those big chunks of onion are now interspersed throughout the sauce. And so this will actually keep for about 2 or 3 days in the refrigerator. Again, it's fresh, so it doesn't have any preservatives in it like you would in the jarred sauce that you would get at the store. So the shelf life in the fridge is not going to be as long. You can also freeze it. And what you can do, what I do at least, you can just put it in a container, plastic container with a hard plastic lid, and leave enough head space at the top so that when it expands a little bit, when it freezes, it won't break out of the top. But what I do is I let it cool first, because right now it's really hot. But I will put it into a freezer bag, and I will put it on a cookie sheet and lay it flat and put it in the freezer so that it freezes flat, and then you can stack more than one layer in your freezer and save space. So that's a very quick and easy tomato sauce that you guys can make for your dinner any night of the week. And it takes very few ingredients, but it packs a powerful punch in terms of flavor. And it's so easy to make that you can throw it together in no time. So are there any other questions?
Okay, so a lot of people like your hack on putting it into the freezer bag and laying it flat. That makes a lot of sense. Saving that space.
Go ahead. I was just going to say, Kyla mentioned that if you just add a little cream and an immersion blender, you'd have your own tomato soup right there.
Yeah, Melanie mentioned that. I mean, I'm sorry. Marie mentioned that too, and that's a great tip. I could actually blend this more than I did, so it's even smoother, and then add some cream, and it would be a delicious tomato soup. Yeah.
Yes, and if you do make that tomato soup, just grate just a little bit of fresh Parmesan and sprinkle it on the top, and eat it with some croutons or something. Awesome.
Yeah, this sauce with some al dente pasta, a little bit of Parmesan cheese, maybe some fresh basil on the top. Perfect.
Ooh, if you do make this soup, I saw somebody mention it would be great with a grilled cheese.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Sam, do you think it would be a good idea for parents that are trying to get kids to eat more vegetables to help grind those up in there in the food processor?
Oh yeah, you can add veggies, cook different veggies to this, and hide your vegetables. So if your child likes spaghetti and they don't realize, that tomato, well, I guess technically tomatoes are fruit, but we all kind of think of it as a vegetable. And you can hide your veggies in your tomato sauce just by blending it up in there, and then they can't see that it's in there. And that's the way to get them to eat. That's the way to trick them into eating their vegetables.
Right. And Wendy said that if your husband's picky and doesn't like the texture of onion, you can always use onion powder.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, that's an excellent point. It's kind of like, instead of using the minced garlic or the fresh garlic, you can use the garlic powder. You can just add the onion powder instead of the onion. If you don't have any onion on hand, or if somebody doesn't like to bite into a chunk of onion, that's a perfect way to get that onion flavor.
Something else that for both what Sam did and what I did here is that some people, if you have acid reflux or you have an ulcer, then sometimes garlic and onions don't set well with you at all. That tends to be more when they're fresh. So if you are roasting them, or if you're using onion powder or garlic powder, that does help many people for them not to have as much of the reflux or the problems in their stomach. So if you do still want some good taste, then sometimes powder or cooking for a long time will help if that's a problem for you.
And the lycopene in cooked tomatoes has been shown to help reduce your risk of prostate cancer if you happen to have one of those. Not all of us do. And so they tend to have more lycopene in cooked tomatoes than in fresh tomatoes.
Okay, so
we do have a question.
Yeah.
Where'd it go? My page keeps moving.
Okay, so they asked if you use powdered garlic or onion, what would the ratio be?
Right. How much would you use?
Yes.
Well, I know for garlic, 1 clove of garlic is about equivalent to about 1/8 of a teaspoon of garlic powder. So it's really, you don't need as much powder to get the same flavor impact as you would fresh. It's more concentrated because it's dried and powdered, so the flavor is more intense. Onion would probably be about the same. I would say about a tablespoon of chopped onion is probably 1/8 of a teaspoon of onion powder.
And always start with less.
Yes.
Because you can add more. You can't take it out.
More, yes.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Julie dropped in, if anyone is interested in a good gardening project, there's still time to plant some garlic, and she has a link on how you could do that. So thank you, Julie. So before we move on, Sam, thank you. We appreciate you inviting us into your tiny little kitchen there in Tallahassee. It worked out well. So we will move on. I'm going to let Melanie Taylor, who is the Family Consumer Science Agent in Bay County, kind of go over what we have coming up with her next week. Melanie? You're muted. There we
Okay,
go.
I'm good. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, so next month, when we do our next session, we are going to be trying a live cooking session with you all, and we hope that you will participate with us. So what we have done is I have actually put together on a list of the items that you'll need to bring if you want to cook along with us on March 23rd. We are going to be making roasted asparagus. If you don't like asparagus, just choose another vegetable that you can easily roast. Just remember, the thicker and the harder it is, the longer it's going to take. And this will be a quick cooking session that we have. The supply list and ingredient list is located on our DIY section of the website. So please go there to check it out. But just real quickly, you're going to need one bunch of asparagus spears. Although I usually tend to like smaller spears in other dishes, in this kind of a dish, it's easier if you buy some thicker spears because the thin ones tend to get really soft and crunchy too fast. You're going to need some olive oil, salt and pepper, grated Parmesan cheese if you like it, that's optional. Fresh lemon juice, that's also optional. You're going to need a sharp knife for trimming the asparagus, a cutting board, a rimmed baking sheet, which is just a cookie sheet, aluminum foil or parchment paper. I highly recommend it. It keeps the oil contained on your cookie sheet and makes it much easier for cleanup. And then a spatula or tongs, and then of course hot pads. So I hope some of you are going to want to join us in that adventure of you cooking with us live on this program. So I'm hoping that you all will come prepared with your supplies. And again, it is listed on the DIY section on our website.
Thank you, Melanie.
Thank you.
So that really wraps up our evening tonight. We have a few minutes left. If anybody has any question they want to ask of any of our presenters.
I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording now. Before I do that, I just want to remind you that our next meeting is on March 23rd. We meet at 7:30 Eastern Time, 6:30 Central Time for 1 hour. And the lesson that will open next month is simple sides and quick and easy main dishes. So if you have anything that you would like to be sure that we cover, if you could put it in the chat box, that would be great. And I'm going to stop the recording in case anybody has any questions that maybe they don't want recorded.
And I do want to thank everybody for joining us. It's a lot of fun.